call is officially a final notice from IRS, Internal Revenue Service. The reason of this call is to inform you that IRS is filing a lawsuit on your name because you had tried to do a fraud with the IRS.
Scams, spammers, scoundrels just seem to be an everyday part of life now. And just because you now have a woodworking business, you think you're immune. Oh no, my friend. It's just going to get worse because now your business is going to be targeted. Hi, my name's Roger Kugler. This is Working at Woodworking podcast, and I'm here to help you get started in woodworking as a business, turning your avocation into a vocation. If you've been doing this for a while, hopefully you'll pick up a few tips and tricks that will make your business more profitable. Oh, I would like to make a little correction to last week's podcast. I had mentioned that I really didn't have any phone calls inquiring about work. The next day, I must have gotten like 10 phone calls about furniture repair or building this or building that. It was just weird because I went, halfway through the week and had nothing. And then all of a sudden, I was getting all these phone calls. So the work is out there if you're looking for it. Scams. We get these every day. And I've kind of broken this out into different categories. Email scams, phone scams, text scams, and mail scams. So let's start off with email. Yeah, everyone's gotten the nice email from the Nigerian prince who needs to move $15 million out of the country, and he'll give half of it for you because you're just a good sport. Well, they are also targeting your business, sometimes with some pretty elaborate schemes. Here's one. I wish to place an order for your paddle costing up to $2,500. My shipper in your country will contact you to arrange transport. Must pay with credit card. Please get back to me soon as possible. And then they'll leave a name that sounds very English, but probably not. Here's another one. Hello, salesperson. I am Scott Anderson and would like to place an order for kitchen cabinets for you. Please email back a quote for the below sizes with tax inclusive. Kindly prepare a drawing for me if you can. Type of cabinet, base cabinet. Cabinet size, 27 by 34 by 24 deep. Wood, maple. Finish, clear finish, natural wood finish. Cabinet sides, finished ends. Interior material, natural wood finish. Exterior finish, clear lacquer. Door, slab panel door. Material for doors and drawer fronts, maple, natural finish. So on and so forth. He gives some more details. Frameless, drawer mounting method, sides, under mount full extension, slides. Well, he does have good taste there. Quantity needed, 5 cabinets. If you can make or order the above cabinet with the specifications, please email me with the total cost for order above. I will have a shipper come to your location and deliver them to a new house I am putting up in Oslo, Norway. I am not making this up, folks. As soon as you are ready. How many days will it take you to get them ready for delivery? You can call or text me if you have further questions. Hope to hear from you soon. Oh, yeah, I've been doing a lot of cabinet work in Norway, all the way from Indiana, but who knows? Here's another one. Dear owner, my name is Lenny Feder. I'm interested in purchasing B2 4x8 3/4 VC premium oak plywood for my uncompleted job. I want you to email me back with an estimate with the grand total cost plus tax and without freight collected from you for 80 pieces. 2 periods. I am currently attending a business trade show in North Carolina now for my interior jobs, but feel free to text me at my cell number, and it's a 412 area code if you have any questions concerning these order. Also forward all your quote to my personal email, and it gives a Lenny period 6237 at gmail.com. Thank you, Mr. Lenny Feder. Mr. has an apostrophe after the R, not a period. And there's more examples. Hello, sales. I want to make a purchase on some of your products. I don't place orders online. Can I email my order needed? Then you can give me a quote here and make charges to my cards. Can you ship to Barbados? Do it every day. You can accept a credit card? ? What is the delivery time? ? Please clarify. Clarify is capitalized. Looking forward to your swift response. Then we can proceed further as soon as possible. Regards, and some name I can't pronounce. One of the most recent ones I've been getting, and I've been getting a lot of these. Hello, Hoosier Woodworks. That's my business. We are connecting the business owner to create high standard for their business website and marketing strategy. To start this, we recommend upgrading the website to more customer friendly. That's hyphenated. If you have some idea in your mind, let's discuss the redesign of your website at economic cost. Thank you. A very American sounding name, Business Development Executive. Now, one of the keys here is the return email address. This is, I'll make it up, joesmith843 at gmail.com. Yet another one, this one is from Deborah Coleman at, oh my gosh, this is Kushamala 646th1054 at gmail.com. I saw your website and I saw many problems on your website ranking. I would love to email you a no obligation analysis proposal for a website without any cost. Can I forward you the proposal? Let me know. Regards, so on and so forth. You have to give them, an A for effort. But when you get these things, and I'll be honest, when I first started out, I saw these things and I responded to some of them. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say that I actually worked up a quote for a couple of these that came in. Then I started to figure out that something just wasn't right here. So what are some of the key things that you can see in an email that doesn't look all that legit? Well, the first thing is poor grammar. The spelling might be right because you can use an online spell checker, but the words are not right. And perhaps these are translated emails. I'm not real sure. But when you read them, a contractor working in Boston would not put these words together. It just doesn't make sense. And so that's really the first key that you need to look for. This is one place where your 6th grade English teacher was right when she said that you will be judged by the way you write. She's right on there. I mean, if you don't have good spelling, good English, grammar, that can cost you money down the road. If somebody's contacting you with a $15,000 woodworking job and you can't string together 2 sentences, that's not going to reflect well upon your work, even though you may be a master woodworker that could do anything. It's the impression that people draw from you. The other thing to really look out for is that email. I mentioned this before, that if you are in business, you should have a business email, not a Gmail email. And please, 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 no AOL.com emails. So that's one of the very first tip-offs. If you can't afford a quality email, I'm not going to do business with you. I don't care if you're the best web designer in the world. Just not going to be there. And a lot of these emails require a credit card. They're looking for a credit card. And I think that is the way the scam is played. They charge something, you run it through, things happen, it's a chargeback, you have to forward, $2,000 or $500 or $300 to cover the freight forwarder that they want you to use, which doesn't exist, and they're going to take your money one way or the other. So how do you handle something like this? You hit delete, and actually I have all of my email for Roger at Hoosier Woodworks or Roger at woodworking.com forwarded into a Gmail account, because Gmail does a marvelous job taking care of 99% of the crap spam emails that you get. And I'm really, really appreciative of that. Yes, I know they're tracking me. Yes, I know I'm giving up information. Yes, I don't care. And if your grammar is not so great, which, whose is short of an English major or a newspaper editor, anytime that I have to write out something of significance, I use Grammarly.com. It is a free website where you can write something out either on Grammarly or in your text editor or word processor, copy and paste it onto Grammarly, and they'll go through and they'll point out the incorrectly spelled words. They're a real stickler for the Oxford comma, which some people use, some people don't. And if you pay them extra money, they will get into the nitty-gritty of sentence structure and kind of the nuance of writing. I don't do that. I use just their free version. And I'll tell you, it catches things. It catches things that I will miss every single time because I am not a great speller. I'm not a great writer. Whenever I'm putting this podcast together and I do the little write-up, I run that through Grammarly just to catch things that I'll miss. Now, if you want to have a little bit of fun, maybe entertainment, perhaps a little vindication, go to YouTube and do a search of scammers. And there are people who, I believe, make a living out of responding to scammers and making videos on how they defeat them. There's one guy who, he's very, very, very computer savvy. He actually was able to wipe out the hard drive of the scammer in India that was calling him. And the sound, the voice, the anguish in the person, it was just priceless. I'll leave a link in the show notes about one of the YouTube video scammers. Another guy was able to hack into the scam center, the call center in India, and he was able to see who he was talking to. And while he was doing this, on another line, he was contacting the police in that city in India and was telling them what he was doing in real time. The police, from my understanding in India, this is a real problem for them, and they are trying to get a handle on it. I mean, it's just not a good look for a country. And they rolled and they busted, I don't know, it was like 27 people, were arrested, and the police actually awarded this guy, a great big thank you, little certificate, for his aid in catching these crooks, basically. Okay, that was email. What about snail mail? I used to see quite a bit of this 20 years ago, but of late it's really cut down. In fact, I mean, who uses the U.S. Postal Service, anymore? Everything's email now. Now, I do get a letter 2, maybe 3 times a year from Domain Registry of America. And it's a very official looking envelope, and you open it up and it says, renew your domain, and it gives the domain name, in the next 10 days, or it will get snapped up by scatters who will demand hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Now, this used to be a real problem. I know several businesses who responded to this, and they sent in a check. It's like $70, $80, $90 to renew this domain because they were afraid that it was going to expire, and I always heard them called squatters, would grab that domain and hold it for ransom for several hundred of dollars. They changed the tactic a little bit to really make this look like an invoice, just like maybe the dozens of invoices that you get in the mail. Well, actually, I don't get dozens of invoices in the mail anymore because, again, everything is done by email. But it looks official, and you kind of panic a little bit, and you write out the check and send it in to them. And they will register your domain and pretty much keep it hostage, for the rest of your natural life. Do not fall for this. So just take a moment, remember who you have your domain registered with. Was it Bluehost or HostGator or Google? It was Google. And boom, that this is, not necessarily a scam, but it's certainly deceptive. I'll call them scoundrels. They're trying to trick you, in essence, into doing something. It's just bad form, and just round foul the letter, or maybe recycle it. So what about text scams? This is incredibly annoying. You get a text message, and they're dumb. I recently purchased a house in your area and need new cabinets installed as soon as possible. Unfortunately, business keeps me in South Korea, so I am not available to supervise. Please forward me a quote with your best price for, and it will mention, 4 lower cabinets and 4 upper cabinets. Sometimes there'll be sizes in there. Oftentimes there's not. I will pay you with credit card. There's that credit card again. And just delete. I will admit that I have engaged in a couple of these until I figured out that they were not real people. I just don't do much with text. And you can, on some systems, report these as spam. On my text messaging thing, I can just hit a button and report it as spam and block the number. Also on Gmail, you can report any email as spam. Then we get to phone calls. Oh my gosh. Literally moments before I started recording this podcast, I got a phone call. And there are several varieties of these. The one I just had was a New York City stockbroker who wanted me to spend $140,000 on an IPO of this super fantastic company. I'm aware of the company, and they are a very good company. And I questioned the guy. I said, "How did you get my number?" And he said, "Well, your number is on a list that we go through." And I asked, "How much did you pay for the list?" And he wasn't sure. And then I informed him that I'm afraid he may have gotten scammed, because I've never even seen $140,000, let alone have that available to invest in an IPO. Anyway, typically you'll get something like, and I get this every year, right around Christmas. "Hi, my boss just said we had to get these out of the warehouse today and said, do whatever it takes." And it goes in and he starts this pitch on sandpaper. And it seems legitimate. They say they're calling from a distributor in Minnesota that, if you look that up on the internet, they are a distributor of abrasives and other industrial products, and everything looks just fine. But I'm not going to invest $350 in sandpaper, no matter how good of a deal it is, if I have never used sandpaper. And I've asked for samples, and, "Oh no, we don't do that. This deal is too good for that," and blah, 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 blah. No, just hang up. I mean, it's a scam. It has to be. One year it was, if I placed $300 order, they would give me I think it was a charcoal grill. Ooh, boy, that sounds so exciting. Just really stupid stuff. I mean, and there's always, as soon as they see that you have a business, you obviously are looking for a loan. And you have been pre-approved for a loan up to $250,000. And it just goes on and on and on. And some of these guys are very creative and incredibly persistent. And of course, you will always get your Google listing is not properly set up. Customers are not able to find you. That one's incredibly annoying. And my website is properly set up, and Google has no problem finding it. And it's a fishing expedition. That's spelled with a PH, not an F. And, it's so annoying. Especially if you're out in a shop and you're in the middle of a glue up, or you're doing something where you're wearing safety glasses, a face shield, hearing protection, a respirator, protective gloves, so on, and you're just all, and you've got 7 machines running at the same time, and somebody wants to give you a loan. Or the one that, okay, I'll admit I did kind of play with this one. "I would like to give you a quote on buying your uncollected accounts receivable." Just trying to explain to the person that I don't have any accounts receivable. And I certainly don't have any uncollected accounts receivable. I mean, he would not take no for an answer. He did not believe me that I was not owed money by anyone. You want your product, you send me the money, I send you the product. That's how it works. I'm not a bank. If you need net 30, go talk to your bank. But it's just so annoying. And there's other scams that if they can get you to say the word yes, they can record that and use it for all kinds of nefarious activities. I got caught in this scam probably 25 years ago in the late 90s, when a box of cash register tape showed up in our store. And there was an invoice, and I was the bookkeeper. And I don't remember anyone ordering register paper because that was my job. And so I called the company, and they insisted that somebody they talked to had ordered this paper. And I dug a little bit more, and I couldn't get a name of who they talked to. I couldn't get when they talked to this supposed person. It just sounded really fishy, so I did a little bit of digging on the name of the company and contacted the Attorney General for the state of Connecticut, where they had shipped the product from, and also looked up on the Better Business Bureau. And when they kept calling me back demanding payment for this, I told them, go ahead and sue me. I dare you. And of course they never did. I probably should have double dog dared them. But on the Better Business Bureau, there's negative 14 stars. And it's very obvious that it was just a scam operation. And I read probably about a year later, 2 years later, that this company was busted by the Connecticut Attorney General. And there was a big class action lawsuit, and you could, file if you were. I never gave them any money, and so I never got involved that way. But just be careful with saying the word yes, because that can come back and bite you. You may end up with 100 cases of 1,000 grit sandpaper, showing up in your shop. And when you call and ask about this, they'll say, well, we have a recording of you saying yes. Well, they can fabricate that pretty easy nowadays, and your word against their word, you're going to lose some time over this. So be careful. Now, some ways that you can look out for these types of scams. A very interesting story my pastor shared during a Bible study. He does a lot of couples counseling, and he bought a finger monitor, one of those clip-on monitors that do oxygen and heart rate, beats per minute. And he uses that in his counseling session. And when he sees someone starting to get a little agitated, a little worked up, he sticks this on their finger good-naturedly, and if it's over 100 beats per minute, they stop the counseling session. He said, let's go get some coffee. I think there's some donuts, left over from a meeting. They just take a break and get up, move around, get some refreshments, and come back. And he explained that there's this weird chemistry that happens in the brain when our heart rate gets up above about 100 beats per minute, that it kind of goes into this fight or flight mode. And when you're discussing important issues, cognitive issues, the brain is not processing cognitive issues at that point. It's processing fight or flight. So that would be very good advice. Don't let yourself get worked up over these scams. Dave Ramsey talks about how debt collectors, their number one job is to get an emotional response out of you. They'll call and just start making up all kinds of stuff just to get you worked up, because they know that if you become emotional, it's very likely you will do stupid things. You'll take this month's rent check and send it to them you're just so incredibly mad. And his advice is to don't make any big decisions. If you are tired, if you are hungry, if you are upset, save those big decisions for when you're well rested, well fed, and under control. And of course, if something smells a little fishy, you might be on your best guard. I watched a video of an interview of a con man, and he pointed out that they're not really innocent victims in a con, because the only way that a person can fall for a con is if they are desperate or greedy. Those are the only people, according to this con man, that can be conned. They've got to be desperate and or greedy. So if you can kind of take that tack, that might save you from some heartache. So what are some of the key things with these phone scams? Well, number one, they called you. You didn't go around calling people looking for a business operating loan. And I doubt if you started calling random numbers looking for someone to improve your website so Google could find you. So that's the number one thing right there. They called you. It is an unsolicited phone call. Some of the other key things of these scams is what I call the pause. Your phone rings, you pick it up, you swipe, whatever you do to accept the phone call, and you say your business name and who you are, whatever your standard greeting is, and there's a pause. Now, if Mrs. Jenkins is calling you up to see if you could repair her sideboard, she's not going to pause as soon as you get done introducing yourself. She's going to go right into it. These guys, there's always a pause because a computer is dialing the number, and if the computer makes a connection, then the scammer gets an alert on their screen and they go into their spiel. And so there's always this pause. And then they get into the pitch. I would like to talk to the business owner. Or maybe they'll ask, is this the business owner? Again, looking for that yes. You know, if they were really serious about offering your company a good or service that could benefit you, they would do their homework. They would know who the owner of said business is, and they would ask to speak with them directly. So this is just kind of lazy call center, spam center, robocalling. And you can pick up on it pretty quickly. So do you engage these people at all? My recommendation is no, but I'll also have to admit a weakness that sometimes I'm bored. Sometimes I haven't talked to anyone for a while. And sure, I'll press 1. What could possibly go wrong? And honestly, I have found some that I think were actually legit businesses. I looked them up online, and they actually were located in Baltimore, Maryland. But wow, what a spammy way of going about business. And I've had some very good conversations with some of these people who work there. There was one guy who had a pretty heavy, thick accent. And I asked where he's calling from, and he said, Irvine, Texas. Well, he didn't sound like he was from Texas. And so I pressed him a little bit more. I was thinking he was maybe, from India, was in India. And he says, no, I'm Nepalese. Oh, really? I've never spoken with anyone from Nepal. And then I mentioned Tenzing Norgay, who was the guide with Sir Edmund Hillary on Everest in 1953, and he got incredibly excited. I mean, he was probably a young man in the early 20s, came to this country. He got a job in a call center, and somebody knew something about his country, and he was just all excited. We had a very, very nice conversation. I talked to another young man who actually was in Baltimore. He was from Columbia, and he had been here for about 10 years, had, well, better English than I have, and I complimented him on that, and he said that he has done a lot of work to learn to speak English, not just the English language, but to learn to speak and to communicate well. So, and there's some other ones who have not been nearly as pleasant, but generally it's probably a waste of time. Although I do get the ones out of Florida who are, selling precious metals. They've got a fantastic deal on gold, and I explained that I don't invest in gold. Well, silver then. Nope, don't invest in silver. So you don't invest anything in precious metals? Oh, yes, I'm actually very fond of precious metals, but I only deal with lead and brass. Usually that results in immediate hang-up, and I'll admit one of my guilty pleasures in life is making telemarketers hang up on me. But I have had two, most recently, did not understand that. And they would say something like, lead and brass. I'm not familiar with those markets, but I'm sure there's somebody in our firm who could help you with that. And it's like, why don't you go find one of the senior salespeople in your firm and ask them about gold and silver, and then you call me back, okay? Generally speaking, don't waste your time. As soon as you figure out that it's a spam call, and you can't always use the phone number as an indicator, because it's apparently incredibly easy to spam the phone number to make it look like they're calling from your area code, even your immediate, town. But my understanding, that's really easy to spoof. And honestly, I get a lot of calls from legitimate customers who have California phone numbers or New York phone numbers or Georgia phone numbers, because I live in a very dynamic, college town. And there's people here from all over the place. So I can't use the phone number, as an indicator if this is a spam call or if it's really a customer. So what do you do when the phone rings and it might be a spam call? Well, I think number one, realize that you are under no obligation to answer that phone. You will not go bankrupt if you don't get that call. If you're in the middle of a glue up, or you're spraying finish, or you've got a ton of personal protection equipment on, don't answer the phone. If it's a customer, if it's important, they will leave a message. Hopefully you have your phone set up that you have a greeting and asking them to leave a message. And number two, a very effective way of dealing with scammers, when you answer the phone call and you figure out it's a scammer, what do? It's easy. You just hang